Everybody complains about meetings. Too lengthy, we're not deciding, we're too many around the table. What can we do to drive efficient meetings? I share with you several tips that can really make the difference if you apply them consistently. The first one is have an agenda. Be clear about what you want this meeting to deliver. A meeting is supposed to share information or decide, answer one or several questions. It has to be clear what do we want to do during this meeting. If there is no agenda, there is probably no chance for you to be very productive. Point number one, when you have this agenda sent up front, obviously, because you want to make sure that people know why they're invited, you also want to make sure in the beginning of the meeting that the agenda is clear and shared. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss this and we have to decide on point A, point B and point C in the next 1 hour, and we have to finish on time. So start and finish on time. If you're leading the meeting, be there before the beginning because you want to make sure that your computer or whatever device you're using is working, everything is connected. You don't want to be the one generating 5 or 10 minutes delay. I know that in some company cultures 5 or 10 minutes is the usual delay. Don't follow the company culture if the culture is unhealthy. Start on time, and with the habits, people will understand that they also need to start on time. This is really something healthy, especially to finish on time, whatever happens. In most of the cases, this is what you should do. Agenda. Second is define who you should invite. And here we usually tend to mix people who could be interested in the outcome of the meeting with people who need to contribute to the meeting. My recommendation is whoever should just be informed can live, survive with the meeting minutes. Don't put them into the meeting, you're wasting their time, and as a consequence you may as well waste your own time with the other people inviting you just for information. So make sure you invite the right people. If you have several levels of management, it's not normal, it can be exceptional, but it's not normal to have several layers. You should have one person in charge, possibly a few experts, but if you have the big boss, the N-1, the N-2, few of, let's say N-4, that's just crazy. It's a waste of people's time. If you are invited to a meeting and you believe it doesn't make sense, make sure to have a call with that person or confirm that you don't need to be there and remove it from your agenda. You have then saved 1 hour of your lifetime. So, agenda is key. Remind it in the beginning of the meeting. People who should be invited as well. The third thing, you want your meeting to go smoothly. You don't want to have a big mess of people being absolutely against the idea you're going to sell, for example, or the project you want to discuss. If you have identified a few key stakeholders who have a major influence on the meeting outcome or who can be disturbing, go and meet them up front. They might have relevant ideas, so that maybe you have even to change a bit the content of your meeting or your proposals, or at least anticipate and make sure that if there is a confrontation, it's done one-on-one earlier, managed separately, and not in a meeting where other people will just look at people fighting or, let's say, being vocal on things that are not relevant for them. Very important. Key stakeholders, if the subject is touchy, is sensitive, go and make sure that they're aligned. Then, send your documents up front. You want to make sure that people have the opportunity to have a pre-reading. They want to have a look at the documents, possibly call you or discuss with you if something is, let's say, strange for them, clarify so that when you go to the meeting, you're much more effective. And here's the trick, because people don't necessarily pre-read the documents. But especially at senior executives to whom you have sent a pre-reading document will be less likely to challenge the content if that person has not read the document up front, because he didn't do his part or her part of the job. So it's then difficult to be too challenging. So either people have pre-read, and if they have some major concerns, they may have already discussed it with you. I mean, if they are constructive. If not, they will still be less challenging because they didn't do their homework. Pre-reading requires to get prepared up front, but again, that's also the best way to make sure that your meeting will be productive. Then, taking notes live. This is my strongest recommendation in terms of alignment of the people. Have a template already. You don't need to start the meeting to know who has attended the meeting. You put the list of the people you invited and you remove the ones, or you put excused to the ones that finally don't come. And this you can do it up front, so you don't need to waste time. Second, all the documents that were shared, if you have followed the recommendation of sending the documents up front, you have them as well. They're already available, so you can have also this part done. And then you just have basically the key decisions that should be highlighted and probably the first thing to be seen. That's at least my way of doing things. And then you can have the more detailed minutes if needed. By taking notes live and by sharing your screen, you make sure that you have not distorted the decision or the information that is shared. Anybody around the table is supposed to say, no, I disagree, and you can remind them that, guys, this is the meeting minutes. Make sure, please, to correct me if I misunderstood something, and let's make sure that the actions, the leader of the action, the deadline are something that you do agree, and put only actions, leaders, and deadlines of people around the table. If people are absent, maybe there is one person around the table who can either decide on their behalf, and in that case that's fine. If not, there will be one person taking the lead, and the action will be define a deadline for action X with Miss or Mrs. or Mr. X, Y, or Z, or whatever. You see what I mean? So make sure that you have everything settled during the meeting. Practical recommendation. If you have an action for which the leader does not know when she or he can perform the action, at least make sure that you defined Mrs. or Mr. X. Make sure to give us a deadline for that specific action by end of this week. And then you give pace, and you make sure by the end of the meeting that everybody is aligned on the content of the key decisions. Everybody has bought in the actions and the lead time associated. Before you close the meeting, you press send. What happened then is that you have done your homework, prepared the agenda, sent the document up front, decided collectively, sent the meeting minutes. Everybody has them in their mailbox, so they cannot even challenge the fact that you changed the actions that disagree with that. They were here. So I can tell you, in terms of time management, it's huge, not only because you're productive during that 1 hour or whatever duration of the meeting, but because you have aligned people and you have made sure that you have the right people being accountable for delivering a given action that they agreed by a given time. Extremely powerful, and I can tell you, if you apply systematically this on all of your meetings, and if you influence, if you teach, if you recommend others to do so, your company, your business will be much more productive than if you don't follow these recommendations.